Hi, welcome to Politics Girl. This is my new series, The Argument Against Democrats. Argument number 11. Democrats are unpatriotic and anti-military. Democrats aren't anti-military, they're just not pro-war. Our big donors aren't the ones who make the tanks and the planes and the profit from America's endless occupation of foreign land. Our military is something to be deeply proud of, but it's worth asking if 50% of our discretionary budget should continue to go to the military every year. That's 50% for defense and 50% for everything else, including transportation, veteran benefits, administration of justice, healthcare, housing assistance, the environment, science, space and technology, training, employment, and social services. I mean, maybe we do need to spend that much on defense. I don't know. I don't do the federal budget. I can barely keep my household budget. But I think it's important to be able to ask the question without being called unpatriotic. I think the bigger issue is the idea that if you question America in any way, like how we break down our budget, or kneeling for racial justice at a football game, or marching for black rights, then you are somehow inherently against the flag, against the troops, and against America. I believe people need to be reminded that it's incredibly patriotic to protest. Peaceful protests and the rights to free speech are founding pillars of our democracy. I know Mike Lee says we're not a democracy, but most of us believe we are. Our military sure as hell is fighting for democratic values all around the world. I would argue that Democrats, and in particular the liberals that people like to make so much fun of, are so upset right now because we love America. Democrats are deeply patriotic, but we're not patriotic for the flag, which is a lovely symbol, but just an icon, and we're not patriotic for the president, who hopefully is a great leader, but ultimately is just a person. Democrats are patriotic for what America stands for, its values. And we feel that its values are being trampled every day by the Trump administration and its enablers, and that makes us very upset. We can't be a country of laws if justice only applies to some. Republicans show us time and time again that they believe that certain people matter more than others and are allowed to live under a different set of rules. If you got a subpoena, would you have to go to court? Yes, you would. But if you're in the Trump administration, you can ignore it. If you put your knee on someone's throat and choked them to death in front of 100 witnesses, would you go to jail? Yes, you would. Will the cop who murdered George Floyd? Who knows? Someone just paid his $1 million bail and it wasn't anyone he knows. If you lied to the FBI, would it be a felony? You bet your life it would be a felony. But Roger Stone and Michael Flynn are both walking free. Listen, it should not matter who you are, who you know, or what color your skin is. American justice should be fair. And if our laws favor some over others, then our laws are not just, and ultimately they aren't legitimate. Democrats stand for Black Lives Matter, not because we don't believe all lives matter, but because our country keeps showing us that people of color don't get equal treatment under the law, and that needs to change. It's not unpatriotic to question our country and how it's run. It's not unpatriotic to acknowledge with humility who we are and how we got here. How else can we learn and grow? Trump's removed racial sensitivity training from workplaces because he says the training is racist. He's trying to change what we teach in schools because he says fixating on slavery makes us look bad. Yeah, it makes us look bad. It makes us look bad because it was bad. It was fucking terrible. Slavery was terrible. Jim Crow laws were terrible. Redlining was terrible. How our European ancestors treated the natives was fucking terrible. And we have to collectively face the ugly parts of our past. We can't move forward unless we acknowledge how we got here. As Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. We can't improve without coming to terms with the fact that you need improvement. It takes real strength to look at yourself and say, yeah, I'm not happy with that. I can do better. It takes real self-love to want to improve, to say, I'm worth it. It's worth doing the work because I know I can be better. That's how Democrats look at America. We love America so much we want it to be the best it can be. We see our flaws and we want to fix them. The Republican position seems to be, we were perfect until people started questioning things. Let's just go back to that time before when we were great. Okay, great for who? For whom was it great back then? When was that? Because unless you're a straight white man with money, it was never truly great in America. Black women have only had the vote since 1965. Segregation was only outlawed in 1968. No woman could have a credit card in their own name without her husband's permission until 1974. Marital rape wasn't considered illegal in 50 states until 1993. Same-sex marriage was only made legal nationwide in 2015, and people are still trying to overturn it, and there is still no federal law that considers lynching a crime. America is not great, but it could be, and it should be. It deserves to be, and we need to care enough about it to put the work in to make it so. Our military fights for democratic values all over the world, and yet our politicians at home try and steal our votes through voter purging, poll closing, and gerrymandering. That should infuriate everyone. Republicans talk about freedom, but that shouldn't mean freedom to treat people however you want and believe whatever facts support your point of view. Freedom means the freedom to live your life fairly with dignity and equality. Some might do better than others, but they should, because they worked harder, not because others were held back by our laws and our bigotry. America should be a country where we all feel safe and supported, where our voice matters and our vote counts, where our water is clean and our air is pure, where the politicians represent the people and not their paycheck. We should be free from the fear of violence in our streets, in our schools, from our partners, from the world. We should be free to better ourselves through education, training, job opportunities, and we should all have a safe place to live. We should be free to worship or not worship who and however we want. Real freedom is when the laws apply to all and not just those who can privilege their way out of them. Don't forget to vote.